Hey everybody, welcome back to the RGR Football channel on YouTube. My name is Daniel Harms. I want to start off this video by repping this shirt right here. I wore about a week ago, I think actually. And it's a strike, leverage, drive, wrong way, finish from the Duke Manyweather line of shirts. They did this with Joe Thomas. It's a phenomenal shirt. I love everything that Duke does with offensive linemen on Twitter, and just it's so comfortable. Like it's so nice and sleek, and I can actually pull off orange apparently. So that makes me feel pretty good about it, to be honest with you. And it obviously matches this awesome Kansas City hat because you got white and the white. So I mean, it really pulls off the whole ensemble, if I do say so. That's a great it's a very, very awesome cause, really, because Duke is one of the best with the offensive linemen. Brandon Thorne are the two top guys in the industry. Obviously, Duke being an offensive lineman prior to him working with them, and now getting them ready for not just going through the draft process, but getting through the NFL as well. So, always want to rep them. Also, if you're here, make sure you go ahead and check out the RGR store. You get some really awesome shirts there. I'm still waiting for Ryan to get me mine, to be honest with you. And that Trooper is really, really awesome. So make sure you check that out. Make sure you hit the like, the bell, sub. We all got some stuff we got to do, especially with camp ramping up here. So we're going to start this one off just by talking a little bit about something that really gets people fired up. And I don't have anything against Tom Brady, the player. I think that what he does is an incredible feat of intelligence. He's one of the probably the most intelligent quarterback to ever play the game. But there's that saying, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. And Tom Brady is 100% a cheater. And it doesn't really matter what he ends up doing. News came out last week about his torn MCL that he played the entire season with, basically, like the full season. That goes against pretty much every medical code that they have in the NFL, ignoring an injury like that, not putting it on the injury report, just looking the other way. It's essentially cheating. And I know that people want to say, well, yeah, Tom Brady was awesome and he did a great job anyway, and they still won the Super Bowl. That's kind of my point. An MCL isn't going to make Tom Brady not Tom Brady, because he's not trying to get outside the pocket. He's not trying to make things happen with his legs. What he does in the pocket are micro movements. He's able to adjust his feet well, and he adjusts his body positioning in the pocket. And then, he doesn't move well. That's why he took sacks last year. That's why the key to really getting to Tom Brady and flustering him was sacking him and putting pressure on him. He's unable to really get outside of those sacks and really, really move a little bit, even though he has no actual movement anymore, because he had an injury that the Buccaneers looked the other way on. And yeah, I mean, we can now say that everything, maybe not everything, but a lot of the stuff that happened in New England was not necessarily Bill Belichick. It might just be Tom Brady wanting to be the best and doing whatever he could to get his competitive advantage. Now, why do I say that playing on an injury is cheating? Well, because it did require surgery. He got surgery this offseason and he missed time. How many games do you think that would have been? At least he said that they found out in April that he would need surgery. So what, May, June, July, that's 3 months. He'd be out probably with recovery time at least. That's most of the season. 3 months is 12 games. That's almost an entire season kind of thing. And obviously with Tom Brady being the sole reason that they won a Super Bowl. Let's be honest. Without Tom Brady, the Buccaneers don't win a Super Bowl. They don't bring all those people in. They don't get a lot of the stuff right that they were getting wrong early in the season. You go back to that Giants game on Thursday night, he was all up in the offensive line's face because there were things that he didn't like that were happening. And the way that Bruce Arians runs an offense is he loves to air the ball out no matter what. He wants to throw it downfield at all costs. If you go back and watch some games that Tom Brady called later in the season, specifically even in the Super Bowl, he started to do his own thing. He started to call the offense. He started to do the checkdowns he beat the Chiefs very much with the run game, and then throwing to the running backs out of the backfield, the tight ends up the seam. Like the way that he ran the game is what usually has beaten the Chiefs on defense anyway. And he knew that. Obviously, we all know 2018 in the AFC Championship game with those quick passes and the outs to the quick guys in the quick game with Julian Edelman and things like that. they just destroyed the man coverage of the Chiefs. Like, that's what he did. He knows how to beat them, even with a different defensive coordinator. And I do think, given different circumstances, it's a completely different outcome of the game with the offensive line and stuff like that. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the fact that Tom Brady is the most competitive player to ever play the game, and he will do whatever he can to win. That was evident this past year with that injury that he basically, I guarantee you, he told the Bucs to just ignore it. I'm fine, I'll play. I don't put it on the report or anything, which is against all the rules. It's against the rules that it is cheating. They're not going to fine. They're not going to do anything because it's Tom Brady, guys. Like, we've seen this, even with the Deflategate, with stuff like that. They don't ever get the problem, like the issue, resolved. They just keep ignoring it and letting it go as what it is, because Tom Brady brings in money. He's going to play till he's 45. His trainer came out and said his goal is to play 2 more years to get to his goal of playing until he's 45, and that's just what it's going to be. And the NFL's just going to let him. They're just going to let him. I don't know what else to say at this point about the fact that I know that there's a lot of cheating in sports to begin with. Baseball is probably the biggest. The game itself doesn't change very much, so players really try to get as much of an advantage as they can. Obviously, we had the whole spider tack incident in baseball recently, outlawing any type of sticky substances outside of the what's they call it, the rosin bag that they use. That's the only thing they're allowed to use now. People were using sunscreen, things like that, to get better grip on the ball, get more revolutions. Like, baseball's probably the biggest sport for cheating. I think there's always players, teams trying to get a better edge on what's going on in the game. Obviously, shifts were happening. Now they're looking at outlawing shifts. Like, come on, this is ridiculous. Let the game be what it is. Learn to hit a baseball the opposite direction. Learn to take advantage of the shift. When the people are playing a shift against you, hit it the other way. Like, these things have to be adapted to. Like, the NFL has adapted. Granted, it's adapted to an offense, but again, I think the defensive players have adapted reasonably well. They've gotten extremely more athletic, and even with some of the penalties that are being called in today's game against defensive players, it just goes to show you that cheating is always going to be prevalent. And even though Tom Brady is going to go down as the GOAT of the NFL, like, he's going to, like, that, I don't think anyone's going to be able to touch what he's done. And that's even with Patrick Mahomes. I think that the Chiefs are going to have a good opportunity to win a bunch of Super Bowls, but I don't think that they're going to get to what Tom Brady's done. What he was able to do in the stretch of playing with the Patriots and now again winning a Super Bowl in Tampa, it's unprecedented. And I do think it's just going to be one of those things that the NFL doesn't want to make it look dirty. You know, they want it to be what it is. Even though Tom Brady, I guarantee you, if you go through a lot of the stuff that they've done, they've always manipulated the injury report. And Tom Brady's always been an injury report manipulator, and now he did it again with Tampa Bay. So this is no surprise to me. It's not going to be a surprise to me when the NFL decides not to punish anybody, even though the team should receive, you know, draft pick fines and things like that. That's what you should be doing in this situation. And the unfortunate reality of it is that when you bring in as much money as Tom Brady has brought into the NFL, they're just going to cooperate with you. No. And that could benefit Patrick Mahomes, but I don't see Patrick Mahomes as the kind of guy who's going to try and cheat like that. And you can say you're the most competitive guy in the world, and to an extent, I believe that with Tom Brady. But at the end of the day, your reputation, in my opinion, is pretty tarnished from everything that's happened in New England. And now with the very first season with your new team, you manipulate the injury report just to get a better competitive advantage and win a Super Bowl. And I'm not happy about that itself. I think it's a pretty ridiculous thing to do. And to be completely honest with you, it's just, it should tarnish his reputation, but it's not going to. He's going to go down as the GOAT. People will look the other way. That's what always happens with success. Like, it's just what it is. And as much as I hate that fact, it's just the unfortunate truth of the matter. And I think that everything that is happening right now with, you know, the NFL, and he's going quietly into the sunset in terms of his twilight of his career is now. It's right now. He's about to end his career. He's got 2 more years left. and the new wave of quarterbacks is taking over, and Tom's doing whatever he can to stay relevant. I get it, but you shouldn't be doing it. Like, it's illegal. It's cheating, and it should tarnish his reputation, but it won't. So that's all I have to say about that now. And like I said, I love Tom Brady as the player, the competitive advantages with the cheating. No, that's not what I'm here about. And that's not what I really want to see in the NFL. We don't really want to see it anywhere, to be honest with you, but I know that there's always some level of cheating in sports. I just try to ignore it for the most part. But when it's blatantly obvious that you went ahead and went against all these regulations and things, it's because these things are in place to keep players safe and to keep you safe. Say if Tom did anything else worse to his knee, on top of that, they would have found that he already had an existing MCL injury, and it would have been even a bigger issue in season. But now that it's out of the season, it feels like no one really cares. So I'm hoping to maybe do something. I don't know, man. I'm just kind of frustrated about it, and I'm more frustrated now that I've been talking about it than I really thought that I was, which is interesting to realize. So again, that's about it. All I have to say on that. So today is Tuesday, the 20th of July, and the Chiefs just brought back Alex Okafor. I know there was a big outcry about Melvin Ingram. Yeah, I would have been okay with him bringing it in, but the fact of the matter is that he's a pass rush specialist at this point. Injury history, he's a smaller guy. He would have been able to do different things with, the way he plays and the speed and the quickness that he uses. But he is not going to come in and play on an every down basis. He never would have been able to. I think he was looking for an opportunity like that. And this shows you that the Chiefs are not going to compromise what they do just to bring in someone who could probably bump up their pass rush. I think that's indicative and an important statement to really make, because Melvin Ingram is past his prime. He can bring you some good things defensively in terms of, like I said, pass rush and getting to the quarterback. But at the end of the day, that's all he would bring to this team. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about Taco Charlton being almost the same way, but he's big. He has length. He can play on first and second down in the way that Spags wants. But this outcry and this kind of fake outrage about not bringing in Melvin Ingram, like, they left their meeting months ago on good terms, but they just realized that it wasn't going to work. I'm willing to bet that the Chiefs said, hey, look, you want to come in? We'll give you this, however much money this is, and you can be a pass rush specialist for us. Play a limited amount of downs throughout the season, keep you fresh for the playoff run, and really wreak havoc in the playoffs and let's go win a Super Bowl. But he's, 32 years old? He's not looking to downgrade himself at this point to a second and third down player. That's not what he wants. I think he's looking for a bigger opportunity. And now he signed with the Steelers. I think that he has an opportunity to carve out that role. Bud Dupree was there. He's now in Tennessee. Dupree's a smaller, quicker guy, so he thinks he has an opportunity to work alongside the opposite side of TJ Watt and get a better job, I think. So bringing Alex Okafor it makes perfect sense. We talked about it last week with the Frank Clark breakdown, and he knows the defense. He's the kind of size that the Chiefs are looking for, and he's healthy. He's now fully healthy. Fingers crossed, knock on wood, everything about Alex Okafor, because if he can stay healthy, I think this season you're going to get the most out of him. And seeing as how he's back, that is going to pretty much tell me essentially two things. Or no, just really one thing. They expect something to happen with Frank Clark, whether it's him to go on the commissioner's exempt list or him to miss games this season. They're preparing for that. And Okafor makes perfect sense, like I've been talking about. He fits everything they want to do. He knows the system, and it's a perfect fit for the Chiefs specifically. Speaking of injury history, today was an interesting day on Twitter. I don't know how many of you are in the fantasy football realm, but this doesn't have anything to do really with fantasy football. It's just about players getting injured. It does happen. It's an awful thing to happen. Cam Akers got injured today in a workout, and there was some weird victory lapping players that got injured. Like, I don't understand what goes through your head to think it's okay to, as much as you preface your tweet by saying, I know it's a terrible thing what happened to him, but guess what I've been saying all season about, Darrell Henderson or things like that. No, 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 no. We don't victory lap injuries, man. Like, this is not what it's about. Injuries are terrible. These players are playing at the height of sports. The NFL is the most physically damaging outside of probably hockey. I think hockey has just got just as much damage, speed, that kind of thing. But these guys are playing head to head. Like, they're going up against each other. They are trying to knock each other's heads off. Like, that's what that game, the football, is about. That's why it's a bit more dangerous. You have helmets that are weapons essentially, and even just an off-season injury, an Achilles injury could alter his entire career. A young guy like Cam Akers, it could completely alter his career, and that kind of stuff should never be said about players that when they get hurt. It should never be a part of a tweet. It should never have to be, you trying to preface it by saying something. You should never, ever victory lap a player for getting injured. Ever. It's disgusting. And if you do it on social media, if you do it anywhere, it's one thing that you're going to get blocked immediately. I'm not going to care about what else you have to say. That kind of stuff doesn't belong in social media. It doesn't belong anywhere. Like, when people get hurt, it's not good to bump up your own self, try to make yourself look good because you said something months ago about a backup player, and now you're using the fact that the starter got hurt to bump up yourself. Like, that's ridiculous. That's never going to be a thing ever. I hate it. It's disgusting, and it doesn't belong in not just the space, but anywhere. It's awful. It should never ever happen. So, yeah, it's something that definitely gets me a little steamed up. I think that people take sports for granted. It's not, almost because sometimes fantasy football it's exactly what it is. It's fantasy. No, this is real stuff happening. You're using this game on the side to justify being mean, essentially being mean to players, actually putting their own lives and futures at risk to play a game for your own entertainment. So at the end of the day, it's really just, it's got no place, and I really, really hate it. All right, so I'll leave you guys with this thought. The Chiefs this year are obviously going for the back-to-back-to-back Super Bowl run. That's what they're looking for. Their motto is "Take it back." I can't stand mottos. I thought last year's was stupid, and I think this year's is just don't, no. Just get rid of the mottos. They don't need it. Just go talk your talk, walk your walk, whatever you gotta do, but you don't label the season. Like, I can't stand it. And I know that they're gonna be all about labeling or running through that label and getting to the Super Bowl, but whatever. Like, I'm out. And one thing I'm out on, I don't think Demarcus Robinson's gonna make this roster. That is a hot take for you guys. I think he's going to get cut, and I 100% think he really should be at this point. You have McColl, who you have to have something come out this year. I think Pringle's a better receiver. I think Powell's a better receiver, and I think they really like Antonio Callaway. So if we think about Tyreek Hill, McColl Hardman, Byron Pringle, Antonio Callaway, Cornell Powell, that probably means that DeMarcus is the sixth guy on that list, okay? If they keep six, which they probably will. I don't think they'll keep seven. So for me, that probably leaves somebody. If you show up in camp, like a Fountain or a French, someone like that, that's on the end of that list, you could knock DeMarcus Robinson out. I know that Andy Reid brought him back, and I've said multiple times that I think that Andy Reid has too much of a soft spot for him. But realistically, yeah, I know he knows the offense, but you're not going to play him just because he knows the offense. Like, you want to get the most out of him. I would love to see him actually produce in the offense, but I've come to realize that this is like the fifth year that we've said, hey, Robinson's going to have a nice year this year. At the end of the day, I don't think that that's enough. Like, it's almost like he and Dieter share some kind of bond with each other. Like, they're just these guys you can't get rid of. And I think this is the year they have to cut ties. I know that they brought him back on that 1 year deal. You got to cut the ties and get rid of him. I think he's done. I don't think he can bring anything to this offense outside of high pointing the football, but they don't use that. So what are we doing here? Let's get some guys in here that have talent, that are younger, that can give you something after the catch. That aren't going to hold the football out here away from their body and swing it all around and fumble it out of bounds and things like that. So That's one hot take that I have. And as camp goes along, I'm going to develop some more here, and we'll probably get into using these more rant videos. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and make sure you get some of these. Check out the RGR store. Ryan and I, the whole team at RGR, really, really appreciate the support you guys have given us this off-season. Growing in an off-season is incredibly difficult, and you've helped us do that. So we really, really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more, and subscribe to RGR Football.